Hello, everybody, and welcome back to At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and this week we will be doing covering what I watched this month, May edition. I have not. I should say that this is going to be the final episode. This is going to be like the last episode for a few weeks, three or so, because I am currently still in school. And so what that basically means is that because I'm getting down to the last few weeks of the term, because of how it works here, so I've got this episode out, and then I've got 3 more weeks to go, week 9 and 10, so I will not be posting any I won't be posting anything. I won't be uploading any episodes for the next 3 weeks. So I figured I'll get this episode out this week, and then you can have this episode, and then I will unfortunately not be able to do. I will not be doing anything next few weeks. So I'm just going to cover the films that I watched last month. I'm going to go quickly through this one because you know it is late when I'm recording this, and I just want to get this episode out so you guys have an episode for this week. So yeah, basically, that's how it's going to work. Is I'm going to have 3 episodes this week. I'm going to have an episode this week, and then the next 3 weeks there will not be an episode. I might make an announcement on some upcoming plans. But hopefully, after the next 3 weeks, I will be able to get an episode out every week for hopefully the rest of the year. I don't know how likely that is because time and getting people to record is very difficult, so I don't know yet. I can't promise anything. But I will say that I just hope you're enjoying this, and so I'm just going to quickly move through this. I'm going to give quick thoughts on all the films I watched this month. And then, yeah, we'll have an episode out for today. So, starting, I rewatched. I didn't watch as many films as I usually do because of how times I've done anything, so I just can't actually. I watched, I think it's 13 films, 13, 14 films this month, give or take. I can't be bothered to properly count, but so I'm just going to quickly breeze through. First film I watched this one, but I rewatched Casino Royale, my favorite Bond film, and it was phenomenal. I rewatched it at the beginning of the month, and it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good film. It's just really, like just a really. Sorry, I thought something wasn't recording. Um, yeah, so it's just a really, really good film. Having a really good time. I'm not gonna edit it out. I'm feeling it. So yeah, Casino Royale, the best Bond film. Craig, my favorite Bond. And I'm probably gonna rewatch all these films a year so that I can, get so I can have watched all of them for on the new one comes out. Whenever that may be. It might not even come out this year, but that's just how it goes. So yeah, really good film, the best Bond film in my personal opinion. Then after that, we have got sorry, Scream, which I also rewatched, which is one of my very, very favorite films. I think Scream is a phenomenal film. I would love to do an episode on the show sometime this year because I think it is fantastic. And I love and I just love it. It's phenomenal, one of my all-time favorites. Then I also watched The Prestige, which I covered on an episode a couple of weeks ago. So just go back and listen to that one. You'll get my full thoughts on it there. Yeah, really good. But it's a really good film. But just go back to I think 2 weeks ago I covered the film on the show. It was just me for that one, but I think it's a really good film. And just go listen to my episode on it. Then I watched my first Charlie Chaplin film, Shoulder Arms, which is his like considered his first directorial feature. Um, and so basically, it came out around towards the latter end of the First World War. And he basically plays a soldier, and it's just basically shenanigans again. The film's only like 40 minutes or something, so and just like I think I found it on YouTube and watched it on there. So yeah, if you just go on YouTube, I'm sure you can watch the film, and it's a really enjoyable time. And I'm very interested to see what is next with the career of Charlie Chaplin. He's a fascinating guy to me. He's a fascinating. He's one of he's like the first major movie star ever, and I'm very much love to see. And I'd definitely like to watch the rest of his directorial stuff, so I can maybe do a list on that because that'd be very fun. I watched The Little Shop of Horrors from 1986, directed by Frank Oz. I watched the director's cut of the film because I heard it was better, and I thought it was pretty good. I have not since, I've not since watched the original, like the theatrical cut, because I will at some point, but I watched this one because I was just told it was better. So I made sure I found the director's cut, which I did, and which I watched for this. I thought it was a really good film, really great musical. I haven't seen I've seen a lot of Disney musicals, but I haven't seen a massive amount of just musicals in general. And I thought it was really fun, and a lot of these films I'd love to cover on the show at some point because I feel there's a lot to talk about with a lot of these films. I think really fun, enjoyable films. Then, wow, this film. The next, Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, is phenomenal. Just one of my favorite comedy films ever. It's phenomenal. I would love to do an episode on it. I just think it's so good. Peter Sellers playing three characters in the film is phenomenal. Stanley Kubrick is one of the best working today. I'd probably put it as my third favorite. I'd probably put Paths of Glory and The Shining above it, personally. But again, I could watch it in future and it could bump up to, beyond those two. But it's really good and it's a really fun time. It's only like an hour and a half too, which is great. Normal. It's just a really, really well made film. Then next we've got Strangers on a Train, my third Hitchcock film. I've not seen that much Alfred Hitchcock on, which is very surprising because he's like one of the most famous directors ever, and like films. So this is the only third one. The other two were Psycho, which I saw towards the end of last year, and Rear Window, which I saw in January of this year. I like Psycho. I'm planning on doing an episode for it, so I might know my thoughts about that. And Rear Window is one of the best films ever made, in my personal opinion. It is phenomenal. And I did do an episode on it. In fact, earlier this year, I did do an episode on it. So go back to episode. Let me just check what episode I did this. It was episode 6 back in March this year. Yeah, March 15th was when I published that episode. So go back, listen to that episode. It's a really good episode. It's a really good time, and a really interesting discussion. I recommend those. Rear Window, in particular, I think is one of my favorite episodes I've done so far for the show. And Strangers on a Train is a really good film. The more I think about it, I might bump it down a score. Um, but I just thought it was really interesting. It was surprising because I thought the whole film would take place on a train, and it didn't. It only took place. It did not take place on a train. It took place on a. Yeah, I was surprised. I thought the whole film would take place on a train. Train, but it didn't. It's only on a train for like 10. It's very interesting. But it's a really enjoyable film and another film I love to do on the show. Then I watched I think Peter Jackson's first film, Bad Taste. A film that he made. I think it was his first film he ever made, and it's basically it's a very low budget, it's sort of like an alien film basically. So Peter Jackson, he's in it, and there's a bunch of his other friends. They're all in it. So it's about these guys versus aliens basically. It's like an hour and a half film, and it's very low budget. You can tell, but I thought that was the charm of it. I thought it was a really fun film, really enjoyable time. I'm a big fan of Peter Jackson in general. I think Peter Jackson is a phenomenal director. I mean, I love the Lord of the Rings films, but I also quite enjoyed Bad Taste as well. I thought that was a very enjoyable film. Yeah, Bad Taste was his directorial debut, like his because he did a short film prior to that. But Bad Taste is a really enjoyable film. Again, I found it on YouTube. I would recommend you go watch it because I think it's a really fun time, and it's just a really enjoyable film. Provided, of course, you don't have a problem with the um with the whole like low budget trashiness, I guess, of it, because it's not like, yeah. Then after that, I watched a very interesting film. I watched Eyes Wide Shut, another Kubrick film. A really interesting film, honestly, that I thought was very interesting. There's a lot to talk about it. And again, another film I'd like to do on the podcast. All these films I'd like to do on the podcast. I thought it was a very interesting film to watch for sure. Had some, there's a lots of interesting, weird stuff in it. But I quite liked it. I thought it was an enjoyable film. Not sure how often I go back to it because, like, it's a good film, and I'll surely watch it again. I just don't think it's a Kubrick film I would, watch over and over again. It just doesn't appeal to me in the same way that some other films do. Really good. I thought Tom Cruise is a really good film. I think Tom Cruise is a pretty good actor in general, honestly. And Nicole Kidman, I think, does a great job. And I just think overall the films are really interesting exploration of a relationship and sex and views on sex and such. And I will do at some point, I guarantee, a like ranking my full ranking of Stanley Kubrick, and I guarantee it's going to be a controversial list because of where some films that land and where some films do not land. It's a very controversial list. I haven't seen all of them yet, but so far I think so far it's been mostly relatively so, like not controversial, tad controversial, you know. Then next, what is fine? I rewatched Finding Dory, which is a decent Pixar film. It's like mid tier Pixar. I put the films rather. I'm doing a full ranking of the Pixar films just before the new one comes out. Luca comes out in a couple weeks, so I want to try and get. So what my plan? I'm for sure gonna do a list of my full Pixar rankings. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish watching all of these. Then I'm gonna wait for Luca's gonna come out. I'm gonna watch it, and then once it comes out, then I'll put Luca on the list, and then I'll have like a definitive ranking current time. Finding Dory's a perfectly fine film. I won't watch it that often. It's not that great. Um, it's just a fun time, It's an enjoyable time. It gets really ridiculous at the end. I will say the last, the third act is fucking mental. It's like a bit too strained, and I'm just kind of like, that's not that good. But it's enjoyable and it serves its purpose. Then Kingsman: The Golden Circle, which I watched, a massively disappointing film. I was a really big fan of the first one. I think this is a really enjoyable film, and then The Golden Circle is like a mediocre film. It's not that great. It's very weird. There's some really weird stuff in it. There's some weird, like, I think Taron Egerton does a good job, but like beyond that, I just don't think it's that great. Yeah, but I did sort of watch it because I know that the prequel is coming out in a few months, and it's another podcast I listened to who released an early access episode about like nearly a year ago, Diminishing Returns podcast. I don't know if they're listening to this, but if they are, I hope they're doing great. And just a shout out to the Diminishing Returns podcast, who who are just really great. And if you haven't listened to Diminishing Returns, you should go because they're a really enjoyable podcast, another movie podcast. So that's besides the point. Kingsman: Golden Circle is a disappointing film. I expected a lot more from it, and I had heard it wasn't that good, and I was like, oh, I might like it, and I didn't because it's not that great. because it's not that great. Then I rewatched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I talked about that like last week for my Spider-Man films ranked. And yeah, it's just the best Spider-Man film ever made. It's perfect, basically. I was worried that there's gonna be stuff that was like, oh, maybe something would break it down or something would hold up. Nah, it like holds up spectacularly well. Um, it's just a really, really good film. It's just a really enjoyable film. It's one of the best animated. It's maybe the best animated film ever made in my honest opinion. It's one of the best superhero movies ever made. Again, possibly the best. And it's just really good. And you haven't seen it, you should go watch it because it is phenomenal. It's just great. Really, really great film. The next the next film I watched was Look Who's Back, or in German, Er ist wieder da. So it's basically this is probably one of my more obscure films that I've watched this month. And I watched this for school. So like this is a school project. This is like legitimately for school. So it's about sorry. So it's modern day Germany, 2014, and it's basically what if Hitler just came back to life in modern day Germany. So the film starts with Hitler like being just existing. He just like falls into existence, and boom, he's there. And the film tackles like modern Germany and the reaction to Hitler, and it's really depressing. Honestly, like it's a comedy. There are some really funny bits of comedy, but it's really depressing as well because it's just like there are these people who are not the least bit scared of this guy who is dressing up like the leader of the Nazi party and of Hitler. It's a really sad film, honestly. There's some really like tough bits to watch, but overall it is a phenomenal film. One of my new like all time favorites. Like it seems like all the time I'm just discovering new films that are my all time like just keep getting it. That's what happens. Films keep coming out and I just like films because films are great. And if I find a film that I really like, because I haven't seen as many films as I feel like I should, but to be fair, because I have like I just don't have the time to watch every film, every famous classic film ever made, because that's just impossible. Because there's like a bajillion films made, so many classics. But this film is phenomenal, and I highly, highly recommend that you go watch it because it's phenomenal. It's a really great comedy, but really depressing as well at times. And then we move on to the final film I watched for the month. The Producers, the original 1967 film with Gene Wilder. And it is so much fun. It is such an enjoyable, fun time. Like I just had a total blast with this film. There's just so much great stuff in it. It's just so much fun. It's a really great comedy. Gene Wilder is a phenomenal actor. May he rest in peace. As is Zero. I forgot his name. How have I forgotten his name? Oh no, isn't it like a Zero Mostel? Also rest in peace. Two really really great performances. Two like great comedic performances, just great performances in general. It is one of the best comedy. Again, another really really good comedy that I recommend you all go watch right now. It's just great, and I'd love to do an episode on it because it's so good. So that is the films I watched this month, May edition. I just wanted to move this quickly, so I had an episode out for the month of May. And so yeah, like I said earlier, I probably won't be doing episodes for the next 3 weeks or so, maybe longer, depending on how time works. But so that's just that. But I've got this episode out, so you've got something for this week. So yeah, next 3 to 4, possibly 5. Hopefully not, but at most 5 weeks I will not have any episodes out. A minimum of 3 weeks, possibly more. So that's this week's episode. Check me out on Letterboxd at Willie Fletcher, where you can find all of my ratings for these films, and you can see all my lists that I make. Um, You can also follow this podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Just search out the movies with William Fletcher. You should be able to find it, or just at the movies. If you just search at the movies, you should be able to find it. And if not, just have with William Fletcher. You should be able to find it. I will be launching a website soon for this podcast. I'll be launching a website hopefully in the next few days. Like that's the hope. Probably not, but maybe over the weekend I'll launch the website, and then I'll just let you know on the podcast. If you don't know, I'll post on my Facebook and my Instagram for it. I'll post it on the Facebook page and the Instagram page and the Instagram page for this podcast when the website is launched, so that you can like that, so that you can all go check it out. And I'll also just post a quick little update when the website is launched. So that's everything. I'll also try and get this on other sorts of like podcast sites like Apple Podcast and Overcast and other stuff like that. There is just a slight problem, is because the Apple ID. I tried making an account, but the Apple ID is not working, which is really annoying. So I gotta try and fix it. That's not important right now. Thanks for listening to this podcast, and I hope to see you all in next week's episode. Or well, not next week's, the next episode. Hopefully, if I can get an episode out before, I will try, but I don't know if that is possible. Thanks for listening, and I will see you all in the next one.